Peter Clayton and I in the garage, the court of public opinion, and we are podcasting, and we are Facebook paging, and of course come Friday we are live streaming on jeremycordo.com online, where we can have a very interactive relationship, you and I. And we always have had an interactive relationship. I must tell you this. This was pulled off the wires for me, and Caroline printed it out. I thought, gee, I couldn't believe it when I read it. ABC star Leigh Sales instructs staff to maintain the Uluru Statement from the Heart as a one-page document, as she issues tactics to crush arguments about the extended 26-page version. Well, I've actually seen it. I have it in my briefcase. I had one suggestion, and thank you, Rob. The suggestion was, instead of doing the dates, I should do one page of the Uluru Statement from the Heart every day. But it is so legalese and convoluted. I mean, you can tell from every page of that document that it is not some well-meaning statement from the heart. It is a statement from a law firm with legal implications designed all the way to the High Court. And I wouldn't put you through it. And in any case, it's not 26 pages, it's 112 pages, which is even more frightening. But I'll read you this whole thing. ABC bosses have sent a step-by-step guide to staff, written by veteran journalist Leigh Sales, on how to quash suggestions that the Uluru Statement from the Heart is not a one-page document. I would ask you, why at the ABC is this such a passion for you? Why have you taken, instead of an independent and objective journalistic view, you have taken to campaigning, not reporting? You are a disgrace, frankly. The former 7:30 host, who is now the face of the Australian story, has shared her thoughts on the contentious issue in an email sent to ABC staff, everybody, on Thursday. Everybody in the public broadcaster's editorial, well, it's not just the editorial people, it's every staff member. Sales said a recent example of misinformation was the claim that the Uluru Statement is a 26-page document, a claim that has led to a public spat this week between Sky News, Peter Credlin and Chris Kenny. This is inaccurate, Leigh told colleagues, according to The Australian. The Uluru Statement from the Heart is a one-page document. Rubbish! Leigh Sales, you can't be as naive as that. You can't be. It's there in black and white. I've seen it. I've got it in my briefcase. You must have seen it. Sales goes on to offer a step-by-step approach to refuting the 26-page claim, telling staff the source of this misinformation is a Freedom of Information search relating to the Uluru Statement, which produced 25 pages of minutes from meetings held between the Indigenous communities. These were part of a consultation process that helped to inform the final one-page Uluru Statement, Sales wrote. Those pages do not form part of the Uluru Statement. I'm sorry, it has the Uluru Statement from the Heart written at the top of every page.
Albanese has admitted that he hasn't read it. So
No, well, Albanese would admit that he hasn't read it because he can't afford to admit that. Because could you imagine, he's out there campaigning for a yes vote, and if the yes vote was to get up, with all of the 26, let alone the 112 pages, his only defence is going to be, I didn't know, I didn't read it. Well, I mean, it either makes him stupid or it makes him incompetent. And it's up to each and every one of us to make up our own minds as to which of those categories he falls into. I don't know. I just feel this beautiful country is teetering on the brink of this terrible moment in history. But I have great faith in my fellow Australian, and judging from all the people who have contacted me on Facebook, I do not believe it will get up. But you can't be complacent. Now, on other matters, Jim Chalmers has said, for the very first time, that the NDIS is not sustainable. What a wonderful moment in history. I don't know how many years ago I was saying that. You know, it's a bit like the disability support pension. The road to hell, Jim, is paved with good intentions. Anyway, we'll have an opportunity on Friday to flesh out the bones given to us by Mr. Jim Chalmers with regard to the NDIS. But Jim, I agree with you. The deal with the government and Qantas, and there is a deal, I got no doubt, stinks. Stinks for every man, woman and Australian child. Qatar wanted to fly into Australia. That's a great airline. Emirates is a great airline, Qatar, Singapore Airlines, all of these airlines, they really wanted to fly into Australia, but Qatar had a real offer on the table. And you know what else they had on the table? Some competition for Qantas. It's very good to have friends, isn't it? Anyway, the cost of air travel in Australia is ridiculous. And it always has been, going all the way back to the two-airline policy that existed between Ansett and TAA. But this current situation is not sustainable. Why would our government worry more about Qantas as a business, a freestanding business, than it does about us? I wonder, just in passing, question, I wonder if this might have anything to do with the Qantas support for the voice and the writing of the yes on the sides of the aeroplanes. Not that that's going to convince anybody of anything, but was that a quid pro quo sort of deal? Would somebody in the journalistic media side of the world like to investigate why would the government do a sweetheart deal to keep airline travel expensive? Why would they do that deal? Now, for years and years, it's been on the table that we could easily have the cheapest airline travel in the world, because the airlines that come in with people and their passengers get off, those empty airliners could go from Sydney to Brisbane, from Melbourne to Perth, and they could be making money. They're not allowed to do it. Why? It would be to the advantage of the Australian people, and yes, of course, to the disadvantage of Qantas. But again, I say, why is Qantas this sacred cow? $2.5 billion during COVID. They won't pay any of it back. We can talk about that on Friday as well. And speaking of airline stuff, and I suppose I can't really talk too much about it, it is before the court. But that guy on Malaysian Airways, that Malaysian Airways flight, he got on the plane a few weeks back with his prayer mat. The plane took off, but it had to return when he started yelling at the passengers, religious demands, Allah Akbar, you know, God is great, and all of that sort of thing. There is no way that the police should have taken 3 hours to get him off that aeroplane. What was that? I mean, I meant to mention it to you this to you last week, but what was it? Was it cultural sensitivity, political correctness, incompetence? I remember that story of the school invasion in the United States where the police stood off for something like half an hour while somebody inside the school shot and killed dozens of people, and the police were serious. The police were sanctioned for their lack of activity. The same thing could have happened here. Nobody knew the intent of this person, but it was serious enough to turn an aeroplane round mid-flight and bring it back, and not serious enough for the police to do something about it for 3 hours? I mean, why didn't they just get on the aeroplane with 2 or 3 officers quietly and escort this guy off the flight? Whole lot of people were terrified. They thought their lives were at risk, and they could have been at risk. Indeed. I mean, how do these perpetrators actually get into the country in the first place? And how many more of them are there here? I don't know.
They came in on boats.
Well, they could have come in on boats. Nobody's going to give any guarantees about the political leanings of these people. It's obviously inherently dangerous to do that. Anyway, I'll see if we can wish you a happy birthday and a happy wedding anniversary, if it's a celebratory kind of day. It's August 29, almost the end of the month. Hey, it's almost spring. Lovely. I mean, I can see that out in the garden. It's as good as spring right now. It's lovely. On this day in 1896, August 29, chop suey. Chop suey was invented in New York City by a chef, the chef of the visiting Chinese ambassador. Don't know his name, but you'd have imagined that chop suey would have come out of China or Japan, but no, New York City in 1896. John the Baptist was beheaded in the year 29 years after the death of Christ. 1958, Cliff Richard and the Drifters released the single Move It, Richard's debut single, credited as the first British rock and roll song. He's a very nice guy, Cliff Richard. I've had him on my program dozens of times over the years. Charming man, talented. Gottlieb Daimler receives a German patent for a motorcycle in 1885. The world's first air race was held between France and the United States. The USA wins. 1929, aviator Anne Morrow Lindbergh makes her first solo flight. 1929. 1945, the British liberate Hong Kong from Japan. Speedy Gonzales, Warner Brothers cartoon character, created by Chuck Jones and Michael Maltese, Looney Tunes and Merry Melodies series. First debuts in Cattails for Two. Not Cocktails for Two, Cattails for Two. 1953, Speedy Gonzales. I remember him. Yibbity, 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 yibbity. James Hunt, the English auto racer, Formula One World Drivers' Champion in 1976. He was born in Belmont, Surrey. He died in 93, but born in 1947. Guitarist George Harrison. He was 15. He joined the Quarrymen, who would later become the Beatles, on this day in 1958. Ingrid Bergman, who was also a guest on my program. Only once, but very memorable. I have a picture of her somewhere. Lovely, lovely lady. Swedish actress, Casablanca, Gaslight, Cactus Flower, born in Stockholm, dies on her 67th birthday. It's interesting going through the birthdays and the days upon which people died, how many people died around their birthday. Yeah, that was 1915 Ingrid Bergman was born. Australian swimmer Dawn Fraser wins the blue ribbon 100 metres freestyle gold medal at the Rome Olympics, retains the title won in Melbourne in 1956, and will win unprecedented third consecutive 100-metre gold in Tokyo in 1964. What a star. 1960 that was. Michael Jackson, the American recording artist, dancer and king of pop. Thriller, Billie Jean, Bad, born in Gray, Indiana, died 2009, born this day in 1958. Copper coins were invented in Japan. Traditional Japanese date was August 10, 708. Golly, 708 AD. Lee Marvin, the American actor, Paint Your Wagon, Cat Ballou, dies of a heart attack at the age of just 63. That was 1987. And one more. Netflix is founded by Mark Randolph and Reed Hassing in Scotts Valley, California, as an online DVD rental business in 1997, and it's now worth, Pete, what do you reckon? Squillions?
Yeah, I would think so.
Ah, yes. Well, everything has to start somewhere. Yeah. That's what I say about Fridays and jeremycordeaux.com. It's a small beginning, but it's a beginning. And who knows where it's going to go. I'll tell you the name of our guests coming up on Friday. I'll do that tomorrow. Thanks for viewing the Court of Public Opinion. I'm Jeremy Cordeaux. Peter Clayton and I will be back. Believe in yourself, and goodbye for now.